So, gentlemen, good evening from where you are. So today the idea is to talk about training styles, um, sorry, nutrition, diet styles, supplements, hormones, and enhancement. So there will be some crossovers. I did want to try and show you the two ways that I've programmed people, just because I thought I could sit here and write slides with all the supplements, but there's loads and loads and loads and loads and loads. So what I have got is my Excel document with all my supplements on and my performance enhancement, because that's two parts of today. So I can talk you through what each thing does to a degree. I'm not going to get stuck on performance enhancement too long, because that would be a few hours video on its own, and we don't necessarily need to know all that. So I think it would be a better idea just to touch on it, and then if any of you guys have questions further, you can ask that. But what I'm going to do after sort of each section, to say, guys, have we got any questions on that? Because you probably will have. So if we slow things down and it's more of a discussion today, because I know you'll have loads of questions. We're talking about eating out and tracking your calories and things like that in those situations, which a lot of people struggle with. It's one of the biggest things I have with clients coming on board. They don't know how to manage social events. So what do? They freak out. They throw the towel in, thinking they've just ruined it all. And even discussing like cheat meals and cheat days, and my reasons for that. So we'll go into that. Then we have a few different diet styles, which we did cover the other day, but I'll just touch on again, and then potentially why you would or wouldn't do them. And then supplement wise, there's loads, there's so many, but it's discussing what is necessary and what is beneficial, which a lot of people don't get. So they ask me, do I need all the supplements I take? No, most of them are not necessary. They are beneficial, but if we're trying to get the best version of us in every way, mentally, physically, like cognitive function as well is a massive one I've started to focus on, because I'm doing so much more work that requires a high level of cognitive function. So if we're able to do that, it's going to help you guys in many ways. And again, further questions, if you've got any questions at the end of that section, or if you want questions after the call completely, fire them away. I'm going to put the slides in the thing so you can look over them. And I'll do a screenshot of all of my stuff so you guys can see that. And then it has a reason as to why I take it. It's not the only thing it does. So a reason as to why I take it. So then you'll see some of that might be beneficial too. Most of it won't. Obviously, I'm going for 1%, trying to be the highest level athlete and businessman realistically that I can be. So not necessarily at all, but a lot of them could be beneficial to you guys too. So if we fire away, get rid of this, and get rid of this, make sure everyone's here. Drop that down. Right, guys, let me get my page back open. Am I the right one there? Yes. So if I share to you all, and we are going with Pat's dominating 2024. So the first thing we're going to touch on, diet styles. Just because, although we said we went into diets in certain ways before, and that was more so around tracking calories and working out calories and expenditure and things like that, which I've put that back in, by the way. I put that slide back in, just in case anyone comes to just this one and they're going, right, I want to work out my calories and potentially try some of these different diet styles and see which one works. So that was relevant to today, even though we don't need to go through it again. But obviously, we've got loads of different diet styles. Some of you will have tried some of these. Bar the cabbage soup, juice, vegan, and vegetarian diets, I've tried pretty much everything else. To varying degrees of success. Like the keto diet, which is obviously Nick, when we did that first prep, I did keto. It was horrendous. I remember one day I had tuna and mayonnaise, and it was one of the nicest things I'd ever eaten, because all I'd eaten for months is like chicken and nuts. Because the way to do a ketogenic diet really realistically is removing carbohydrates completely. Direct carbohydrates would go. You would get then indirect sources, trace amounts of carbs from like nuts, from bits of vegetables. Because without the vegetables, you really struggle to digest food and pass it back out, because there's no fiber. So you need the fiber in from the vegetables. So you're just basically eating chicken, nuts, and vegetables and stuff. It's a bit like the paleo diet would be, which is a caveman type diet, where you're removing a lot of a lot of the carbohydrates that would then obviously you switch over to a different energy source, being ketogenic diet, ketones that are produced as like a secondary source. And your body, if it was really efficient in a fasted state for long enough, I'm talking like us at this party the other day. I mean, we didn't have calories from 10 p.m. until whenever the hell I got back. So it was 14 hours, 14 hours with no food but constant movement. I will have been in ketosis by that point because my body's become so efficient at just switching on every process that it will just pick up after a certain point. And I could have walked for 2.5 hours back here and I wouldn't have even been tired because then my body has started to find that energy. Whereas most people like Joe was just dying. She's like, I've got nothing left. I've got nothing left. And it just shows like bits of dysfunctions in bodies because we've seen that again. I've had guys come in for a first session, light session, maybe doing legs, and the blood sugar starts to drop and they're freaking out because they've never experienced low blood sugar, but their body doesn't know what to do with it. And what it needs to do is just upregulate some certain processes, start pulling energy from stores, and you've got all the fat stores and it can start, it should have an endless amount of energy, but they don't, they don't work. The bodies don't work. The same as the fight and flight response. People don't. The average person, obviously we discussed, Nick's a trained fighter. Nick will have that response no matter how long goes in his life. He will always fight or flight because he knows when it's a case of, am I out of my depth here and I'm going to have to run? Can I handle this? And am I going to have to fight? And it would just be a split second decision, but you're still responding accordingly, which is what the human body should do, especially when we talk about being a strong masculine male. But most people, most males especially, freeze. They don't run, they don't fight, they just freeze, they shut down because their body doesn't know what to do. It doesn't have an adrenal response. It just goes, ugh. So this is all parts of understanding how our body has to work. Back in this is how everyone used to work. It's how they survived. But now life's become so easy. We've always got food, so we never go into ketogenesis or to ketosis. We never have to fight or flight because we live in the UK and it's relatively safe. So the stuff that is required for life and survival, we've taken away, which has meant people's bodies don't work. And we can now be essentially what I was when I was younger, a fat slob who just eats junk food and nothing works. But it also shows it can be changed significantly. So I'll move on from ketogenic diets. That was a long-winded explanation, more so about other stuff that's relevant to you guys. The other diet styles, gluten-free. I try to do that anyway because I've just do intolerances. Some of you guys will notice a good benefit from that. I wouldn't say it's a diet style. It's more you're looking at labels and saying, I've identified things that don't agree with me well, cause digestive issues, cause inflammation. And I've seen it while I'm here because we're just eating real food. There's no junk foods, no protein bars, no nothing. And my physique I feel great. I've not used my inhaler once. I actually tried to before we went out on last night, thinking it would help, and it made it worse. I'm going, this is weird. But it's because the issues of my esophagus closing up due to inflammation that's caused by things that my body doesn't like is gone because we're eating real food, we're in a nice climate, everything else. And it just shows that there's something going on in your body that is not agreeing with your body. And it's identifying that because you'll lose a few pounds straight away, you'll perform better, cognitive better, sleep better, everything starts to function as it should. Intermittent fasting is a great one that I use and a lot of other people use, especially if you have digestive issues. It's just basically not starting eating straight away. So most of you guys wake up 7 a.m., food goes in, and then you've got a big gap. That's when snacking happens. So now we start to blow the calories and we're putting crap food in. One of the easiest ways to manage that, just get up, get ready for work. Don't waste your time sorting food out. Have your meals prepped, take them to work, have your first meal around 1 o'clock. And that for me is often a pre-training meal. I sometimes even push it to 2 or 3 o'clock because I found a lot of other people are saying I can mentally function better in that state and just keep going, and then I'll do my my first meal, and by that point my energy is getting low, but we're talking like 2 in the afternoon. So that's a really, really easy way to manage your calories or just manage your time. So I do that all year. First meal's at least 12 o'clock. I hate coming on holiday, having breakfast, and it has to be like 10, 9 a.m. It's really early for me. And it just leaves it open for me to overeat quite easily and then slowly start to gain weight. So this has been one of the ways I've managed my weight a lot better I just have my 4 meals a day and I start eating after 12. So it's like an 8-hour window. It's not slowed my progress down at all. If anything, I'm fitter and healthier because of it, because your digestive tract has chance to rest. Next diet style is high carb, low fat. Basically a bodybuilding diet where fat will go to maybe max 100 grams, protein 200-300, carbs 1,000. So it's just to increase calories, just keep leveraging carbs up and up and up and up. But that then starts to hit other problems as well, which we'll cover in some of the medicine section shortly. Paleo diet, it's very similar to, like I said, a caveman type diet, a bit like the keto diet. The only difference is we eat everything, all the different styles of meat. So if you were to get you see people eating even completely different animals that we wouldn't traditionally eat. It's not like chicken and beef, it's other things. But if you're going to eat a fish, you're eating everything. You're eating the eyeballs, you're eating the organs. Same with even just chicken, same with beef. You're eating every single piece of the meat because there's lots of other micronutrients in other areas that we wouldn't tend to eat, like liver is a very packed source of nutrients. I've never eaten a liver of any kind. I've never eaten testicles of any kind, but they're very, 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 very much high sources of nutrients. So, guys are eating these foods and seeing great benefits to their health. And it's basically saying nose to tail of an animal with bits of vegetables, maybe bits of nuts and things like that. That would be a paleo diet, the way a caveman would eat. So no processed food, no nothing. Again, that will get rid of most intolerances and you'd probably feel a lot better. However, you wouldn't then have the decent amounts of carbohydrates to train hard. So there's a bit of a con there. Some people still say they can train hard. The level of training I do, I need more carbohydrates to fuel that high work. Vegan diet, we know. I struggle to see a reason to do a vegan diet because it's either ethical or some people say digestion. If it's digestion, it's more so that they've not worked out with specificity enough what's causing digestive issues. So they cut out loads of food, especially processed food, and go, oh my God, I feel better. You will. You've just got rid of all your intolerances. That doesn't mean that they were intolerant to meat. It means they were just intolerant to something. You cut out meat. I have clients that struggle with this, and then they're really struggling to get to their goals because it conflicts. So you want to eat a vegan diet, which is higher in fat and carbs, and you can't leverage and control those individually. And then you struggle to get the protein in without having more fats and carbs. So it's not conducive for building muscle. Still can be conducive if you're just doing athletics, like long distance running. You don't need as much muscle, but you do need loads of carbs. So it can work, but if you're trying to get a great physique, the worst way you can structure your diet, you need to have animal protein to get the high source of amino acids and the high quantity of protein. And then when you're dieting, to adjust each one of those macros individually, you need control over them. So that's why we have protein foods, chicken, beef, beef, eggs, carbohydrate foods, rice, potatoes, etc. Really, really important to make sure that we're getting those in when we're trying to have a great physique and perform at a high level. Juice diet, that's more something my mum would do, as I'm sure most of our mums would do, so let's just forget that. Cabbage soup's the same. Fad diets, you lose loads of weight really quick because you've got no carbs, no calories. Morgan's just jumping in. Let's wait for Morgan to get on. Morgan, you here?
Yeah, sorry, work ran over.
Cool, mate. We're only the first slide in anyway. Let's talk about different diet styles. So, most of these guys, most of these, guys anyway. Like say, a juice diet, cabbage soup diet. Basically, you just cut out all calories, so you're on next to no calories. You're gonna lose weight. You cut out all the shit because the kind of people who do them eat loads of shit food. They carry loads of digestive issues and inflammation. So yeah, you'll lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks quite easily. But because now your body's where it should be and it's healthy, and now you start to actually lose weight and it slows right down. They get demoralized and then they say, I gain all the weight back because you go back to the same diet that caused inflammation and digestive issues and overeating. So yes, you gain the weight back and probably some more. Terrible way to diet. High protein, we should all be having a high protein diet. We discussed the other day, how high does the protein need to go? It can go quite high for most people. I'd say that you don't necessarily need to, but some people notice they function better and progress better with slightly higher protein and not going to 1,000 grams of carbs. Maybe bringing that down to 600, adding a bit more protein in. Or sometimes the food can get so much that they add fats in. that's really working on what works for your body. I put fish and a rice cake in there. Has anyone hand up if you've not hand up if you've not seen fish and a rice cake and know what it means? Does everyone
He's
know?
back on TikTok now.
Yeah, he is, and he's using this. Nick,
Yeah.
just Google fish and a rice cake.
Okay.
After this call, there's a guy years ago. And he was putting his documentaries. This young lad, and actually he looks pretty good now. It's called Danny, I think. So he's like pushing
Yeah.
his social media. Good looking guy, got tattoos and stuff, pretty cool. And he just got put on this old school bodybuilding diet of fish and rice cakes. That was it. Hardcore.
And the odd protein shake.
Yeah, it was hardcore. And it's been a running joke for about 20 years. He's never lived it down. So that's just a funny one to look at. But definitely don't go fish and a rice cake. Although I have used fish and rice cakes at the end of a diet, it's not going to do very much for you. Vegetarian diet, very much like a vegan diet, just a little bit more restrictive again. Sorry, less restrictive than a vegan diet, but waste of time for what we're trying to do. Cambridge diet, again, is a waste of time for what we're trying to do. So we've established we need to have a decent amount of protein, a decent amount of fats, probably higher carbohydrates, especially the more active you are, the harder you train, higher carbohydrates. And then if you're trying to increase food, carbs usually go first, and then we can work through there. If you start to hit a tapping point with the food in general, then we can adjust to how is it cooked and different types of proteins that might drive the food up, adding extra fats. So there's lots of little tips and tricks we can use to get around if someone's just struggling with food volume overall because the food's gone up quite high. Next one. As you said, basically, we said this the other day, didn't we? All diets work as long as you're in a calorie deficit or calorie surplus. And the main thing is sticking to it, finding one you can stick to and you enjoy. For example, keto, torturous, wasn't enjoyable, couldn't stick to it very long. My normal diet is my lifestyle. I love eating this way. It fuels me, it makes you feel good. And let me just move that away. Diets themselves are not sustainable. So if you're going on a hard diet, you're trying to lose weight fast, like a rapid fat loss plan we said we've done for Ryan before, it's not sustainable. We're doing it for a reason, for a short time, knowing the fact that this is not sustainable. Unfortunately, a lot of people come in to any kind of coaching and say, right, I'm here, I want to get to here, that's my goal. And they think when they get there, that's the goal achieved. But the only thing they know up here, they know how to overeat and live an unhealthy lifestyle. Then they learn how to diet, but then that's the only two things they know. So if they stop dieting, what happens? They go back to overeating and unhealthy lifestyle. So what we have to do is get them here, teach some lessons along the way, and then the goal is over here at a similar point, even if it's just slightly higher from where you want it to be. But now we know a relative amount of like, this is your new lifestyle, this is how you live in a healthy way. And that's when the goal's achieved. It's not the initial drop where you want to be, it's staying there for a period of time afterwards. Then you really know what you do. So I said this the other day, so I'm not going to go through it again. It's just for the purpose if someone's looking at the slides. Just track your food against mindful eating. I suggest everyone tracks it first for a while, just to get an understanding of what's in their food. And then over time, we can be more mindful, which is where I am right now. I'm just being mindful. But you have to be truly mindful, you have to really understand your body and what it needs. Because it's like goes with a feeling, like, right, I need water, I need food. And then going, right, if I need food, what food do I need? Because what am I about to do? If it's pre-training, that's going to be a different meal to nighttime. You know, and it's looking at things like this. Or even we came out of this party, we've not eaten for 14 hours. We're on like survival mode. Right, we need to get something. First, water, ideally, if we can. If we can't, what kind of liquid? And this is the kind of thought process that goes through my brain, because now we really need to get this stuff in. And it's like, right, at that point, all my normal foods and everything else go out the window. It's just anything that has calories in that won't fuck my stomach up. So even if we find a petrol station and the sweets, I'll eat some sweets just to get some fuel in because we were that depleted. But that's understanding your body at the baseline degree of what the hell do I need right now? And that goes for everything though, because it could be that blood sugar's dropped, you're thirsty, you're hungry. Like, you need to know what you're feeling to be able to know what to do. Because otherwise you're just being pulled around and you're acting out. because that's emotions as well. If your emotions are, you know, going a little bit all over, this, by the way, was a slide we did the other day about counting calories. If anyone did miss it, it's in there. If anyone's catching up, it's in here. So it's a way we can work out our calories. It's not exact, but use this as a good way to go. And then we put that as lean body. So it's lean body mass more than it is overall body mass, by the way. So you work out your calories and you get a rough idea of where you need to go. And you can use these calculators at any time. We obviously know deficit, surplus, what's going to happen. And then it's just descriptions of those. If anyone is unsure, got some nice descriptions just to help. So managing social events to do with diet is a huge one. The first thing I will say is, how can we track food when we're out? Well, ultimately, the only way you can try and be close, by the way, is whatever food you've got or whatever food you're going to eat, go on MyFitnessPal, because their library is so extensive by this point. You can often search the restaurant and the exact meal, and it will tell you. If it doesn't, just go to think, what restaurant is like this one? And I will use that, they might have it, and just search. Yeah, you can actually track. So people say they can't track, you can. If it's at someone's house, I mean, one of the first things I'd have to ask is, what's in it? What's in the food? Because I know that certain things have fucked me up. I mean, the first thing I have to do here, everywhere, no cheese, no cheese, no cheese. It's like, I can't have lactose. So if you ask someone what's in the food, and you can see, like, you know, if you get in some chicken, you can, if this is your normal portion size, you're not going to get this big, and you know it's not the same. So you could still stick to a similar amount of food that you would normally eat, just from understanding your portion size of eyeballing it. It won't be accurate, but you can at least eyeball it. So that's if you're at someone's house, you go to a barbecue, something like that. Because guys, you don't want to miss these things. These are valuable social events with high quality time. We work so damn much. We carry so much stress. We deserve to let loose as well. And I hate coaches that literally tell people you cannot go out for food. Jordan Peters told a guy, he had to ask him nervously, listen, it's my birthday coming up in 2 weeks. Would it be okay if I went out for food with my family? And he said no. And then later on, probably realised that that was a dick comment, and said, actually, yeah, you can, but just be careful and make sure you do this and this, and like give specific instructions. It's like, mate, it's his birthday. Even if he's on prep, unless he's a week out, it's his fucking birthday. And then he went, I didn't even want to go out then because I felt so guilty. So that's wrong.
A lot of restaurants are now putting their total calories, aren't they, at the end of each meal as well. I don't know if that's a new regulation from food standards, but I see it more and more now. You go out to a restaurant and you're like, fucking hell, the spare ribs is 1,500 calories.
Yeah,
Puts you off.
Yeah, and then but once you know how many calories does my body need per day, and what's my portion size and stuff like that, sometimes you look and go, wow, I can really see how people get overweight if they're coming out for food and they've got no clue. So then it makes you a bit more mindful of going, actually, that's dictated my options sometimes. They go, okay, the odd time I'll have a burger, but then a burger's about 2,000 calories. So I'm going to go, do you know what? I'll go for the chicken, something, whatever. And it's like 800. Big difference.
Yeah. We're lucky here. We've got like a brand is called Roosters, but it's like Nando's, but it's nicer, but it's not half as greasy. So you actually save a ton of calories on it. And that's how they've marketed themselves. They're really clever. There's a chain of gyms and they've opened up locations by these gyms.
Nice.
And that's kind of
Good move.
Healthy Nando's.
Yeah.
It's better than Nando's, honestly.
I mean, Nando's, it depends what you get. The calories can go up a bit. If you've got like a half chicken, but don't forget that I'll often include the skin. So if you remove the skin, it will drop a bit, but still relatively high. And it's just then thinking, even the choice of restaurant then. I know if I'm going to go for an Italian food with low, it's probably going to be high in calories. However, if I'm going to Nando's, a bit more of a safer option. So that's one thing I do when I start a diet. Still try and go out for food once a week, especially if I'm in a relationship. They deserve that time. I'm working all the time, I'm training all the time, I'm doing cardio. I want to give them undivided attention for a few hours, phones away. And it's really beneficial to us mentally as well. If we're carrying a lot of stress, we're doing a lot of stuff, just switch off. And that's what I encourage people to go out for. Go and enjoy a social occasion. Just, even if it's a Saturday night, probably no one else needs you. Just chill out, go out with the family, the friends. and it's going to be so beneficial to your mental health, even on a diet, that it will allow you to stick it out so much longer. If you cut all those things out when it's Groundhog Day, it gets very monotonous very fast. Like everything does. We need variety as a spice of life. But that's tracking the calories when you're out. Please do not ever take scales to a restaurant or a Tupperware to a restaurant, because it's just weird. And that is one thing I stand strongly against. I've never done it once. I know people that do. I think that is obsessive. That is disordered eating. You can't argue that it's not, because you're unable to understand that if we manage things and we're sensible with our options, you could stay on track completely if you wanted to. So the main thing, how do we not blow the day? Because most people then would go out for food, they've eaten some calories, oh, fuck it, I've ruined it. You've not. Even if you have gone over and you've not tracked it, you've not done anything, you've gone over by a little bit, you might have lost 1 day's worth of progress. You've not fucked it. It's just get back on track the next day, and fueled on the positive vibes you've had the night before, and then just get back on it. Even if your weight's jumped up, because that's what kills people sometimes. You've just eaten different foods that potentially cause digestive issues and inflammation. My weight can jump up 5 kilos due to going out on a Saturday night, but my body fat hasn't. So it's really important to know that. So how not to blow the day? Managing things well. We can pull calories. So if it was Saturday night, I've got 4 meals normally. What I could do is train fasted. So instead of having a pre-workout meal, train fasted, still have a great workout, get some extra steps. If it's summer especially, walk to the gym, walk back if you don't do that normally. So you're getting your steps, maybe some extra cardio, extra expenditure where we can, but then pull some calories away. You could even say, right, well, I'm going to pull them away from the next day or the day before as well. And if you were to pull 2 meals away, then you could go out for food on Saturday night and you could eat a 2,000 calorie burger and you're on track accumulatively for a week. But you've gone and enjoyed that damn burger, which you might have really, really needed. So it's a bit of an adjustment. And then that training session fasted might not have been as good. You might have lost 10%. But the net gain mentally you'll have from that burger that you really wanted is significant. So as long as we don't go too much with this and do it every week, and now it's a very loose, if it fits your macros kind of approach, but definitely every now and again, if it's a special occasion, if it's a birthday, something that's once a year that you can't do the next week, go to it, always go to it. We can just work around it. It's not a big deal. So like I said, pulling calories from different points to allow more calories later in the day, that's a really simple one. Adding expenditure, like I said, extra cardio, extra steps, making sure you train that day. They all really help. So you push yourself further into a deficit, giving yourself more room there as well. Knowing your damn portion sizes. So if you're weighing your food normally, which we should always be, not because it's obsessive, just like knowing the damn time, I need to know what time it is to stick to my schedule for the day. Otherwise I'll be late or not turn up everywhere. Well, we need to know how much food we've got, because if I overeat constantly, even if it's only by a little bit, I'm going to get fat. So it's not conducive with my goals of being a fit, healthy individual. Just like it's not conducive with me having good time management and being on time. Like, it's not obsessive to do that. People who don't do it may see it obsessive and try and call it that. No, the obsessive is going to the restaurant with a Tupperware. Knowing your portion sizes is just understanding your body and what it needs. And it's what everyone should know. And if you know that, you could go to a restaurant that says 200 grams of steak. And if you have normally 200 grams of steak anyway, that's probably close to your normal meal. So sometimes it'll even say, so straight away, you don't even need to eyeball it. It tells you on the menu, it tells you the size. If not, you can see, if you're serving yourself, you can see roughly that's about the same size when you looked at it enough. And that's a really easy way just to be close enough. And that's just being mindful, not obsessive. Sensible choices. Unless you're pushing really high on the calories, in which case we may send you out. I want you to go out for food on Saturday night. I need you to get an extra meal in. So we don't pull a meal earlier in the day. You go your normal meals, we go an extra one, because we need to push the calories up higher. So sometimes that is the case. It's often not, but sometimes is. But unless you're pushing calories high, sensible choices, please, guys. And then you'll not go too far off track. So you'll be fine. And then you don't need to stress. But the main things, do not freak out and do not ever miss a social occasion that is important, especially if it's for someone else. If it's someone else's birthday, like your missus' birthday or something that's important to them, and you miss it because you're on a diet and Like, if you really have to, take your Tupperwares and put them in the car and you drive and you stay sober. If it's for them, make sure you do it for them. If it's a loved one, if it's friend, family, whatever, always make sure you do it, because you can't get that memory back. And you could really upset them and disrupt the relationship because you're on a diet. And the one thing that will do is make them very resentful towards you, the diet, the process, everything, especially if it's the closest ones to you. And now you have them actively discouraging you. Whereas if you're still able to be your best self and come to that social occasion, what do they have to discourage? What do they have to make upset about? You've made your effort to still see them and still be really making sure that they are a priority. So then they're on your side, they encourage you, the process is a lot easier. Is that actually, before we move on to that one, does anyone have any questions about managing social events that I didn't cover there? Okay.
No, all good.
Awesome, guys. We'll go next one. So supplements, right. This could have been a really long list, but like I said, I'll flick across because I think this is the last slide anyway. Let's check. Yeah, last slide. So I was just going to write long list, but I'd be here all day and then it's on the other thing anyway. So I'll do this and then go over to my Google Sheet, show you those ones, supplements, medicines, everything else, what I take, what's beneficial, etc. So first of all, we've got essential supplements. So they would be, I still class a multivitamin as essential, an omega-3 and as essential, magnesium, some source of magnesium, some source of zinc, because they're often big deficiencies in our diet, but have so many bodily processes that are involved in, you'll see a huge difference in your health if you're not having them. Vitamin D, I still say year round, but definitely a higher dose in winter, but 100% that is essential in winter. Because even if you're going on a sunbed once a week or anything else and getting some level of it, your vitamin D levels will be low, and that has a big impact on your health, immune system function, energy, mood, everything. It's essential for loads of stuff. So vitamin D, absolutely essential. I think what else I would class essential? Not that many. So the essential supplements, unless you have specific medical needs, there's not that many specific. Sometimes we are specific with other stuff. Like I've got a lot of specific medicines and supplements due to medical needs. But then it's based off what's beneficial. So protein powder, creatine, pre-workouts, carb powders, all these things, not essential, but absolutely beneficial. They will help you in so many ways, have so many different purposes. Joint care could be both, depends if you've got bad joints or you're trying to prevent bad joints, so it could be beneficial. And lots of other things like that. Digestive aids, glucose disposal agents, where they help high carbohydrate diets get shuttled into where they're supposed to be properly in your body processing. So all these beneficial. They're not essential, but definitely could be a benefit to your health. Supplements for fat loss. Obviously, we've got the, we'll say grey area. We've got the ones, the normal health supplements that you would get over a counter in a supplement shop. And then we've got the others, which are way more effective, but obviously now we're falling in the realms of performance enhancement. A lot of you guys will still try things like clenbuterol, things like ephedrine, even, what's the other one I use? The name's eluding me right now. Oh shit, there's another one that yohimbine. Yohimbine is not even banned by WADA, so you can use that as well. Even caffeine has a fat loss benefit. So there's a few there that are sort of one of each side of the fence, but I see them all as tools because we live in the UK. So how much do we need to use these tools? Sometimes not at all. Sometimes they're just beneficial. Ultimately, are you guys still there? Good. That was my audio went then. Sorry, mine went off there. I'm just worried as well about the battery. Shit. Right, I will make sure to speed things up. Muscle gain.
We lost you momentarily, Chris, but I think you're back now.
Yeah, I think my signal just dropped. So we've got muscle gain supplements, protein, creatine, things like that. And then natural supplements already discussed. Medicines and hormones, I'll get to on the next one. And then super supplements. So just understanding the difference between medical replacement for medical needs, like testosterone replacement, thyroid replacement, and then super supplements, which are, I just realized it's not even sharing the screen, isn't it? Akanji, can you guys still see the other screen?
Yeah, we can't see this. We can't see the slides at the moment, Chris.
No, don't. Why is it going? If it says it still shows.